We were one of the few companies that didn't raise our rates, that didn't jump on the bandwagon of, oh yeah, we can run this lane for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Why should we keep doing it for this price?
Welcome to This Week in Trucking, the podcast that tells you what you need to know about the trucking market for the week. My name is Caroline, and today I am very excited to have an opportunity to talk to Sim Singh of Virk Express and talk about how he's grown his business despite the downward trend in the trucking market and see what we can learn from him. We're also going to be joined by his business partner, Sunny. Thank you so much for being here. Something that we like to do on this show is to talk to carriers and figure out what they're making, how much it costs to run their operation, and get an idea for what is normal in this industry or what you should be reaching for. Because there's a lot of information out there that's, this is how much I made in a day. Isn't that amazing? Except if you don't know what the costs were of running that operation, then sure, you could make $1 million. But if you're paying $2 million in costs, then it means nothing. Right? Do you have an idea, a ballpark of what your current cost per mile is and how that breaks down?
Cost per mile, I would say right now, we're probably at around $1 and somewhere around there, between $1.60 and $1.70.
And in terms of driver pay, fuel,
that's everything. That's all in it. Yeah.
What's about the percentage of those different costs?
I would say we're looking at around 20 cents for the truck pay. I like to break it up into the cents, right? We pay per trip. So sometimes my drivers are making like 75, 80 cents, depending on if their route just doesn't have that many miles. So we pay per trip, and obviously depending on their experience. So I just go by the highest cost I have for the driver. And I just say, okay, I'm paying my driver $1,000 a trip. And that's my fixed cost for driver pay. And then fuel is usually the way it is right now. It's about, for the trip, it's going to be another $1,000. And so that's $2,000 off the trip right away. And for us, for any of it to make sense, our trip has to total about $4,000 at least. If it's anywhere below $30,000, we're not making anything.
And that's the trip from where to where?
That's California to Utah to back to California. Yeah, minimum has to be $4,000, and I feel like that's reefer. Dry van could be a little bit less, I'm pretty sure, but I wouldn't know about the rates on that. But with all that working out, my goal per trip for every reefer load that we do is right between $2.20 to anything above that, basically. That's the bottom line. If our trip is averaging less than $2.20 a mile, we're either breaking even or we're losing money on it.
And when you are acquiring new trucks, what kind of trucks do you like to get? Do you get them used? Do you get them new? And what kind of rate are you getting on those?
Currently, we don't
want
brand new ones.
So all Max Antonia started off with one, which actually will be paid off this month. Final. First truck, it'll be paid off. And then we just stuck with those because they were cheaper than the Volvos.
And was one hell of a
shit. Again, we built a good relationship with him. He's not working for Volvo anymore, but he still was changed.
You can call him midnight, be like, hey, this is what's going on with my truck. What's going on? And then, okay, try this, try that. I went from a Freightliner Century to a Peterbilt, which was a huge leap forward. And then going from that back to a Mag, I'm like, what the heck did I get myself into? What is this truck?
Yeah, I don't think Mac is known for being super comfortable.
I'm still not used to these trucks. We were debating about trying to get a W900 as a joke today. Really helped out. And then eventually it comes down to cost per mile. They're great on fuel mileage. The repairs are okay. The mechanicals are fine. I don't know about other people's thing, but we get warranties with them and everything. And they've been running strong.
So we've been running
good.
You buy new.
Yeah, we bought new, and our goal is ever since we started, we've been adding one truck a year. I think next year we might not do any. We might not expand, just depending on how the market is going, because it did slow down a lot this year. The only bright spot was 2 weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, a week ago, where we were just slammed, and it felt good because we were like, okay, we're actually making money, and I don't care how busy it is as long as we're making money on it. But
that evened out.
Yeah, we're basically the way everything is. We could potentially add a truck at the end of next year if everything goes according to plan. But we're adding one brand new truck, full warranty, and we usually don't like to put any money down. So we like to start off we don't want any cash into it. The payment is a lot higher But the way I look at it is that cash can always be used for
Sure.
failures, an emergency,
It could happen.
driver vanished,
Help out with that part.
rather than to put a big down payment and then you're stuck. And if that truck gets in an accident or and the way the market is, last the COVID time, all of our trucks were worth $300,000, and right after COVID, they're not even worth $80,000 because
Right.
slowed down. So it doesn't make sense for you to go out and buy a brand new $200,000 truck and put $50,000 down, and then 6 months later, it's not even worth $100,000. So you might as well just, the way I like to do it is just don't put anything down. The bigger payment is fine, because as long as you're busy and work is busy, you'll be able to afford the payment and you'll make money. But if it does slow down, then at least, okay, I got to make at least this much just to pay my bills. And that's why you keep the cash. So if it does slow down, you can use that to get through the slow time.
What kind of interest rate would you expect to get on a
So-
truck if you bought one next year?
I-
Or is
I
that
don't know
the
about-
reason?
I
Is
mean,
that the reason you're like hesitating to buy a new truck?
Well,
You lose interest rate.
Help. That does factor into it.
it does factor in a little bit, but honestly, it hasn't weighed any of our decisions as far as since we've been buying new trucks. I would say right now, the lowest we have right now is probably like 6.5 on one of the trucks.
That's great.
And the
If
highest
just
is,
took the interest rate up.
yeah. And then the highest was 10%. And that's on the latest.
It's not the worst I've heard though.
Yeah, we had a driver. He was a really good friend of ours. He drove for us for about a year, saved all his money, and went and bought a used truck at 28% interest rate. And his payment was just as much, if not higher, than if the brand new truck we got. And I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, why? He's, oh, I'll be able to make the money. I was like, no. Do you not know what's happening with the market?
It's tricky because they'll talk with us or someone like, hey, I'm getting this truck at this interest. And we'll be like, I don't think that's a good idea. Obviously, you don't want me to get a truck. You want me to be your driver forever.
Yeah.
No.
That plays into
You want to be our wherever. All luck to you. But sometimes they take it the wrong.
The 28% is just
That's
criminal.
I've heard stories people getting in the 40s. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard stories that people have gotten interest rates above 40%.
See, this is why we like to talk about this stuff on this
Yes.
channel, because people don't know what's normal. And especially, I think if you're either coming from a background where you haven't taken out debt before, so you don't know, maybe you've had a car loan, but if that's your only experience, you don't know at all what commercial debt should look like. Or if you're
That's-
coming from another country where interest rates
Yeah.
are super high, right? I lived in Ecuador for about 10 years. And a 20%, 30% interest rate isn't unheard of because just interest
Unheard,
rates
yeah.
are really high there.
Yeah.
But in the US, things are different,
Very
right? We have the US dollar and the Fed
That's actually-
usually keeps them pretty low.
This kind of connects to the way we started, actually, because I was driving my own truck. He was driving his own truck. And that's how we were running when we first started the company. Okay. Nobody, if he wanted to, he'd be like, hey, book me a load. And it just happened to be where he just ended up taking care of the equipment in the yard. Oh, hey, your tire is bad, or you need an oil change or this. And I'd be like, okay, let me go get that done. And then I'd be the one booking the loads, or I'd be like, oh, hey, there's a really good paying load. Do you want to do it? Yeah, go ahead, book it for me. And we had a good friend of ours who called Sonny. He was Sonny's friend. I didn't know him at the time.
High school friend.
And he called and he said, hey, I'm heading up from Sacramento to Denver, and I got a deal with some leasing company, and I'm going to pay them like $900 a week for a truck.
From
Yeah.
a week.
$1.60
Yeah.
a mile or
Something like that.
It's pretty high up. And I basically told him, don't sign any paperwork yet. And then we talked.
I was in Idaho. I was in Utah going into Idaho. He called me. He goes, hey, we have such and such is doing this, and he's going to Denver, and they're charging him this much money. I was like, is he crazy? I was like, you're paying, because at that time I was paying like $2,200 a month for my truck, and Sonny was paying like $2,500, right? 25 something.
Pete,
What
26.
And I was like, dude, tell him if he just wants a truck, we'll help him out. Like, we'll get him talk to the right people, and he doesn't need to spend that's
3,600.
that'll be $600 a month. And at that time, that was way. And so he turned back around, and he waited for me to get back and Sonny to get back. Then he met with us, and I was like, look,
You
we'll
probably
talk to
saved
the
his
truck-
marriage.
Probably, I don't know. We went back and we talked to the salesman, and the guy's like, hey, we have this truck. It was At that time, it was a Mac Anthem 2019 for 155,000, and we got him a trailer, a reefer trailer, in the same loan, and his loan came out to be like 195 altogether, and his payment was $3,400 for the truck and trailer.
Wow.
And he was like, and he's, hey, I only have I'll put down some money, and can I run with you guys? And so we didn't expect him to do that, but then when we're like, okay, fine. And Sonny's like, hey, if you want, you can run him. Just like he's going to be driving his own truck. And when I saw that when he got in the mix, that's when it made sense that, oh, okay, we do have more work.
Yeah.
And that's when me and Sonny were like, okay, maybe we could. And then that's when I traded in my truck, and I got the same exact truck that guy got. And I immediately put a driver on it. And that's when I was telling Sonny, I'm like, dude, I'm at home making money. You're still driving. And he's like, yeah, but
I don't want to put a driver on the
yeah, no one's going to drive. I was like, yeah, you sell it, trade it in for that one. And then that's when
the prices were just starting to rise during COVID. And I got more money than I was expecting to get for that truck. And I'm like, all right, I'll trade it in. And then we picked up 2 trucks at the same time, 2 more Mac Anthems.
Yeah.
And right as we got delivery from, that's when the prices just really kicked up.
I remember there was at one point someone did offer us, and I was like, hey, we'll sell you the whole company during COVID for a ridiculous amount. But then I'm like, what are we going to do? So we decided not to. And some guy was offering, our very first truck had 400,000 miles on it at the time. He's like, I'll give you $160,000 for the truck. And I paid $145 for it brand new.
This is where people mess up, because the trucking industry is never straight. It'll go up and down. Like,
right.
Even during the housing collapse, I still remember when my dad was driving at that time, fuel prices were almost $5 above in California for a gallon diesel. And we were struggling at that time. And then afterwards, it became great, and it was stagnant for a while. During COVID, it got good, and now it's dipping down again. And hopefully a little bit
it's dipping down again, but people don't realize if they look at the numbers are better than 18 and 17.
Today, in 2024.
Yeah, the rate is better.
Fuel looked to be
it's just so different from 2 years ago. That's what people are comparing it to.
In 17 and 18, we didn't have ELDs. We didn't have all this other extra stuff you had to pay for. So
insurance was cheaper back then, too.
Insurance was cheaper. Fuel was a little bit cheaper. But if you were to look at the numbers, I don't think it's that much of a difference. The rates are higher than what they were that day. It's just the cost around it has gone up. So it looks okay. And then COVID just messed the perception up for everybody. This is what it's going to be. You can get $9,000 for 1,000 miles. Yes, you got that one time during COVID, but that's not going to happen every single time. And like I said, Sonny knows we were probably I'm sure other companies did it too, but we were one of the few companies that didn't raise our rates, that didn't jump on the bandwagon of, oh yeah, we can run this lane for $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. Why should we keep doing it for this price? But because our customers depended on us, and we knew that after COVID, the work was still going to be there. We're in the food industry. Food's not going to stop. Hence why our rates are still the same as they were in COVID. And everybody else is, oh, what the hell's going on? Why is it so low? Why is it so cheap? Right after COVID, we started hearing stories and somebody left, or someone's trucks got repoed, or somebody had their house got foreclosed, or their car got repoed, or whatever, because they ended up taking PPP loans and went from 2 trucks to 15 trucks. And within 3 months.
Bought them at the top of the truck market.
Exactly. Bought them that expensive. And now they're either they're closed or they're back to driving their own.
It's the same thing that happened during the housing market collapses. They were owners of a couple 9-10 trucks, and then when everything went down, they started driving for people, and it's just money management and all that stuff. And it ends up repeating itself every 5, 6, 7 years. But you just got to know that if times are good, I shouldn't really expand my expenses at this time.
The companies that stay in the business, that have been staying for a long time, are the ones that are just consistent. They don't, yes, you're supposed to keep up with the market and adjust accordingly. You have to do that no matter what in any kind of business. But you don't want to you just don't want to jump on the next big trend and think that's the be. There's no shortcuts. There's not a $1 million load that you're going to get and you're like, yep, I'm going to retire. That's never going to happen. Whatever it is, whether it's reefer drive-in or if you're in like heavy haul or whatever it is, if you treat it like a boutique and you treat it at a personal level, no matter where, you're going to make money. You just have to know that, hey, this is how much I'm willing to spend. to make this much. And that number can't be over what they're making. Then it just makes sense. So that's basically the rule me and him follow. This year, we've had to cut back. It hasn't been all good. Yes, we've been growing, but we've had to cut back on a lot just because of what we saw, the fuel prices going up, driver pay. At one point during COVID, because the rates were everything, we were paying drivers like $1.20 a mile. Yeah. And we were making money because we could afford it. What happens when it slows down? That number has to come down. And then you have to have competent and understanding drivers that understand that, okay, yes, the market has slowed down. I'm not going to make the same amount of money as I did when they were big. And then they realize that too. They go, okay, so you are treating me just as I'm the owner, because when you're making money, I'm making money. And if you're not making money, then I'm not making. And they understand that. And they understand the fact that for us to run the business, we have to make money no matter what, or else it wouldn't be possible to do what we're doing. So it's just one of those things. I think people, they should at least take a basic business classes, profit and loss, what my baseline is, what my assets are, what my liabilities are, and then move into something like this.
Did you do any of that before you started the business or before you got into creating or growing Virk Express? Did you have any business classes, certificates that you did?
No, I learned through, as I was growing up, my dad was always in business. I was always helping him out, making calls and taking care of bills and stuff. Just, he would tell me what to do and I would just do it. And I didn't know at the point that it would all come in handy today. And it does. And then when we were working for that company where we met, that's where I did learn a lot of the ins and outs and, okay, how do you book a load? What are these load boards? Like these dispatch board systems that you can literally maintain. We use this dispatch. Like we manage most of our company through that. Driver pay, loads, profit and loss, everything. It spits everything out for $70, $80 a month. A lot of people don't even do that. They handwrite everything, or they don't even have a system. And that's where you don't get that idea. If you can't break it down per mile or you can't break it down per trip, hey, I got to make at least, then you'll never know. You can't track how much you made or lost.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We've had another guest on here that was using another platform like that called Trucker Calculator. That's not quite the same thing, but for financial aspect, will give you your rate per mile, what your cost is per mile, and what your profit loss is.
And it keeps records, and that's what these big corporate, because they email you, and if you can reply to that email in an instant, here's the paperwork. Yeah, they're like, okay, great. Like this guy's, they have it, and usually they just need an excuse not to pay you.
Totally.
They just, oh, you don't have the paperwork? Sorry, we're going to have to charge you something, or we're going to have to deduct this because you couldn't get us this delivery paperwork or that or this, whatever. These little details matter. Me and Sonny, he's focused, like he'll tell me, hey, tire's bad. Got to get fixed. And I'm like, we don't have any money. If we don't get the tire fixed, then it's going to cost $100 now. Or it might cost $300 down the road. And I'm like, okay, fine. Let's
back and forth after the priorities are and what we should do and not do.
Yeah.
And that's one thing too. We don't always agree, which is good for business, because that's when you realize, okay, why is he saying what he's saying? And then he'll be like, okay, this is why he's saying what you understand why that aspect, that part of the business. And then he'll understand something that I'm trying to explain to him. And then we always come to a compromise. We can still make money this way, and let's just do it that way.
Buying the next truck, what brand it should be, Freightliner, Kenworth, or what we should look at, what he sees from his point of view, or what I see from my point of view mechanically. Like, these trucks have these issues more. This is what I see or not see, and all it helps. A little bit of a fighting back and forth is always see each other's point of views.
Yeah, you can't make fire without friction.
There you go.
I can't remember where I heard this the other day, but it was someone in business leadership and research that was talking about how really high-performing teams actually have a lot of conflict. Yeah. The difference is that they talk about the conflict.
Yeah.
So they say, hey, we're having this conflict. We're having this disagreement about this thing. Let's figure it out. As opposed to suppressing it or hiding it or trying to talk around it. They actually talk directly about the conflict.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because one person can't do everything. Like, we only have 5 trucks. And if I was to say I'm running everything, I can't dispatch and get the tires changed and make the deliveries and do the pickups. You have to have a team. And me and him, we do 80-90% of the times, but our wives are always come in and do something. Or if I'm on the road, I'll call my wife and be like, hey, I need you to go on my computer and email this person or that. Or the same thing with him. He'll be like, okay, let me go get this paperwork or whatnot. And it's a team effort. It's always a team effort, no matter what kind of business it is. And if you're not true to each other, meaning you don't tell it like it is, okay, this happened this month, this Thanksgiving weekend. So this was another reason why we couldn't get on the show earlier is our yard had diesel get stolen from one of our trucks and a few other trucks. Yeah.
3 of our trucks got hit. And then I think about 10 to 11 other trucks just Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. They came 3 times, anywhere from 12 to 4 in the morning or 10 to 4 in the morning. Yeah, cleaned out everybody. And
Is that the first time that's happened?
That's the first time that's happened with us. We're in Sacramento, this is in West Sacramento area, and you always have break-ins and stuff. It's normal, but not every time. Not like once a year or something. Someone will just come out and open your reefer door, try to open it, or break a seal or something. And our yard is fenced, it's secured, it's got cameras and everything, but it still happened. And that's another unexpected.
We'll look at the apps on the fuel cards. Like, hey, it's 2 cents cheaper. Try to get fuel from this spot. And, then do this or that. And then, you get almost $600-700 or 600 gallons getting stolen out of your trucks. Really messing with your concerns.
And then do you call the insurance? Because then your deductible is really high. And this way, does it even make sense? Because what are they going to do? Give us $1,000? Like, we'll pay the deductible and maybe we can get more. But it's like with any business. You have a restaurant where anyone can have a break-in and stuff like that. These unexpected costs are going to happen. You have to be
That's why you have those reserves. Right? That you talked about at the beginning. That's why you have a couple months of all your costs.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to, because if you don't, then, one time we had brakes lock up on a trailer and the driver, all 6, but all tires, I think 2, except 2 popped on the trailer. And that's a set of 8 tires is $3,500, $4,000.
And it was a one-time thing. It never happened again on that trailer. Got everything checked out. Randomly, 3 axles or 3 of the drums locked up, didn't want to open. And by the time he realized that the trailer was smoking, they already had little indentations in it where the trucks were bumped if he drove.
Yep. That's the part of the industry that's unexpected that you just have to deal with. It's, I don't even know why we're doing this.
Existential crisis about your trucking business on my trucking business podcast.
It's all going good. It's a 24/7. We have 2 trucks on the road, 3 trucks on the road right now. I'm actually scheduled to leave later today to Utah. It's a never ending, but that's the fun part about it. That's the exciting part about it too, because one of the reasons I wanted to drive in the beginning was because I was like, yeah, I get to travel. I get to see my office window is like the road. And if you've ever been to Utah and those mountains, you can never get tired of it. And so I was like, I'm traveling and I'm making money. So I still see that part of it, even though we're in the office, but that's one other thing too. Somebody gets 4 or 5 trucks, they start thinking they're Bill Gates. You have to be hands-on. You have to be in their truck every day. You have to pick up and deliver, and you have to be ready to go. If a driver is sick or you get an extra load or something, hey, I'm always ready to go. So is Sonny. Hey, do you want to go or should I go? Okay, I'll go this time, or you can go next time, or whatever. So we don't think of ourselves as, we have 5 trucks and we make this much money. No, we're still drivers. And if we can get one more load and make some extra money, that's great. That's good for everybody. Everybody wins in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. As business owners, do you set aside a salary for yourself? Because that's something that I've heard a lot of business owners don't do, and they get into trouble because they're not actually in bad months. They're not actually bringing anything home. And if you have a family that's dependent on you, or even just your own personal living expenses, that can get complicated. Yeah, so how do you deal with that?
So that's a really good question, because when we started this, we were all under one company, but we were more like, okay, that's your truck, that's my truck. And we put drivers on them and we were running them, and we were making good money. But it got to the point where I was like, hey, Sonny, we're not going to be able to make any money if we run it like this.
It creates the friction in between us. If there's his truck's out there, my truck's out there, why did you give your truck a load before mine's? And then you always have other people telling in your ear, okay, Sim's doing this. Why isn't your truck doing that? And then it doesn't work out. So we're like, let's consolidate everything, the equipment, and just run it as one. Whatever we make at the end.
So when Yeah, when we made that switch, we made sure that, okay, we're going to take a minimum salary no matter what. Like, we have to make that much because why else are we doing it? At the end of the day, yes, it's great. We love the business and we're passionate about it. But if we're not going to make any money, then there's no point to it. And because we see that we're always looking ahead. Like I always tell Sana, this is what's going to happen in 3 to 4 months. If whatever's happening in the market and economy and everything, it's going to get better or it's going to get worse. Let's do this. Let's cut down on costs, or let's invest in more equipment, or whatever the deal might be. So we're always just keeping up with the trends. I'm always reading the emails that you get, like you guys got in contact with us because of the magazine. That was
Overdress.
I was just bored, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fill this out, and I gave them the silliest answers because I was trying to prank Sunny. Just turned into this. Oh, we're gonna interview. You guys are gonna be one of the runner-ups and this and that. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And all of a sudden we're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is cool. And we learned a lot too. Cause I'm like, okay, cause when you guys contacted us, that's where I saw your show on their website, right? The first time. And then I read a bunch of these articles and what other companies are doing. Twitter actually came in really helpful when like this trucking community on there. And there's these companies out in the Midwest that are doing great stuff with trucks and their company and how they're going and dealing directly with shippers and receivers and stuff like that. So you learn a lot from socializing in this community like that. And get off track. I'm not sure what the question.
It doesn't matter. You could say yourself as business owners, and you guys answered.
We set a base salary up, and we were like, "What's the minimum?" That was it. Like, what's the minimum you need? What's the minimum? Yeah, we need this much. Great, and that we try to do no matter what. And if we can do more, that's great. But we do that minimum every month, no matter what, because then it's extra stress. Because if you don't pay yourself and you have bills, you have food.
And running a business is full enough. Like you don't need to be thinking and stressing about home life too, because you're not bringing enough home.
Yeah, then you're gonna bring that into work, and it's just everything is gonna start to feel personal because you're like, oh, what's going on? So that was a main important thing. Sonny, I think he can tell this better. Like when we started this, he goes, hey, friendship is to the side, like family's to the side, but money is black and white. If I owe you something, I owe you something, you owe me something, you owe me something.
To keep it down to the penny.
It's very black and white. Someone owes somebody, they owe it. There's no, I'll pay. No, you pay that. You pay your debt, whoever owes you, they owe you, but we've kept separate. And it's a good thing. I think everyone should do this because it just, especially if you're good friends and you're family friends, the financial side and the money side could be like a taboo, like topic to talk about or something. But if you just keep it separate and okay, hey, we're going to be, this has nothing to do with our friendship or anything, then it's so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. The last question I always ask is, who do you think that we should talk to next? Who are some of the people that you've learned from about this business that we should interview?
They all
Yeah, no one's.
Are you just talking as far as like carrier, or could there be any?
The people that you were talking about in the beginning, Kevin, I think was his name, like that kind of person too. Other carriers though, that you think are doing well, or carriers that didn't do so well or have gone out of business. I wouldn't mind talking to them too, because you learn just as much from, if not more, from failure than you do from success.
Yeah, we have a few friends, carriers that you could definitely talk to, and they could give you their perspective and all this.
Cool.
My thing would be Kevin. I can ask Kevin if he's interested. I don't know. He's a 68-year-old grumpy old man, but he's taught us so much about this industry. A lot trucking
yourself before. Into this,
him and his brother did trucking, and then they did their own brokering and then brokerage, and then he finally just took a job, and he's, hey, there's so much to that. So for example, there's a lot of double brokering happening nowadays. A lot of people are aware of it and this and that. But funny thing is, I spoke to Kevin about it, and this has been going on since this industry started. I have people that do it, and they tell me that they do it, and I have no problem with it because all they're trying to do is make their little bit money in between. And I understand that perspective. When it gets to like fraud and someone's like actually stealing the freight and stuff, that's what you
can turn into so quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. And with these new people that are coming in, the technology is trying to catch up. We have technology that can surpass trucking, I feel like, with AI and all this stuff. But I feel like the there's two classes of truckers now. There's people that are here before 2010, and they know, hey, there's certain unwritten rules and unspoken rules and the way we do things. And like Sunny was saying, like nobody pulls over anymore. If you see a truck stalled, people keep driving. It used to be like if you saw a trucker that had a flat,
or no one even gets to help someone back up. The first thing they do is pull out their phone and, I hope he wrecks so I can put this on whatever social media thing and gets views and likes, and no one will take the time to be like, spot him, basically, back up.
There's no more camaraderie. It's just more of a, they've turned it into just another industry. I feel it's just, hey, who's the next one, fastest one to the next load. And I think if everybody just stopped and was like assessed, okay, what are we really doing here? Why are we doing this? Yes, it's for money. How can we make the most amount of money without having to pull the other guy down, basically?
Everybody's away from home and miss Thanksgiving. Some will miss Christmas coming up, and no one just takes the time to ask anybody, like, hey, man, you're working on your equipment, anything I can do to help or whatever.
I can recommend a few brokers. Honestly, the carriers, we can probably get you like 2 or 3 people.
An old friend of mine, who I've learned a lot of mechanics from.
Cool.
So I can ask him. He's a good friend. He's been in this industry as long as I have, and he's done the same thing with him and his brother, basically trying to work on their own equipment, get some softwares to figure out how to do it instead of taking it to the shop, and a lot of that stuff.
I can try to have an intelligent conversation with a mechanic, but that I might face in that one. I might go right over my head.
That's another part of it. If Sunny didn't have that knowledge, a lot of people jump into this industry and they go from 1 to 3 to 5 trucks or 10 trucks, but they have zero idea of what the maintenance side of it is. How much a tire should cost? How much should an oil change cost? How much is this part, or can I get it cheaper somewhere else? All that stuff. And is warranty a good thing? Warranty is always a good thing on a new truck. It's just like an extra insurance policy. And a lot of these guys don't know that. And I feel like the system takes advantage of them, but then they also don't want to. They just see the money and they're like, hey, let's just get up and go. And because Sunny knows so much about the maintenance side of it, I can't even put into number like how much money we've saved.
It's like, dumb stuff too sometimes.
Being proactive about it. Certain things like
old ours bought a REEFER 2013 or 2014. And when you go into the computer of the REEFER, it'll tell you what the temperature is it's throwing into the product and what the return temperature is, right? Like that way you can figure out, okay, the REEFER's working as it should. Maybe the product's hot and the return temperature is a lot higher than it should be. So he bought a brand new REEFER and he picked up oranges out of Fresno. Those little oranges things. And I think it's Memorial Day weekend or Veterans Day or one or the other. It's on the weekend. And he calls Thermo King, hey, the REEFER's throwing codes, the box temperature is out of range. It's not bringing it down. Maybe it's not working properly. And he said he wanted $550 an hour, 2 hour minimum, to come out and look at the REEFER. But if it's brand new, it's all under warranty. Thermo King will cover it, no worries. So he comes out and takes about like 10 minutes to go through it. Okay, you have it set at 42 or whatever it is. The box is throwing Freon or cold air into the box at, 38 or something? But your product's so hot that the return temperature that it's collecting the air is at 60 or 65 degrees. So everything's fine. They just noted your product hot. And now it's about an $1,100 bill for him to just explain how to run a REEFER.
How a REEFER works.
It runs
on to this day. It's just small thing like what the suction pressure of the REEFER is and how much Freon it's pulling in or using or evaporator temperatures and all that. See it online or YouTube, or you pick up over to the
You just have to know what to look for. You can't, you got to know what to search for, and you have to be able to do a sniff test on it to see if it's actually good information or not.
That's true. You gotta be cool, mess around, and sometimes you feel
with social media now, with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and everything. I still feel like truck drivers before 2010 got a hands-on training with this kind of stuff, where now it's like a video. Like, oh, this could happen and that can happen. And if it's never happened with you and you've seen a video and it actually happens in real life, I feel like watching the video isn't going to be as good as if someone actually showed you like, oh, hey, if this ever happened, this is how you do it. This is what you do. And we learned that. This is back when T-Mobile had like your 5 favorite people that you could call unlimited, right? So there was no internet. That's the time we started trucking. So we were actually really out there.
So the mechanic friend was one of those top 5.
Back then, we would fix the truck without a mechanic on the road if it was a silly air leak or a leveling valve or something, just on the phone, and they would explain.
You can find this or how to one of your airbags and how to bypass that airbag. So you still got 3 other airbags, or the truck can still run on those and still be mobile, or basically air hoses with their pneumatic power tools, just in case if they need it.
Drivers today they can't even tell if they have an air leak.
Yeah.
How it is. But to the original, because I'll recommend a few people. If you want to email me, I can send you a few brokers that have really good insight on all of this. And I'm sure that their perspective would be a fresh thing into this, because they've been doing it for 40 plus years. And they really know like where it was and to where it is now. And yes, they're always complaining about new technology and stuff, but they're still doing it. They're still making money. They know what's going on. And that's where we learned. That's where I learned, and hopefully continue learning that way.
The wait was definitely worthwhile. Thank you. Thank you so much again.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us on. Thank you. What do you know about the situation? He goes, they pulped it and it was coming up high, right? I honestly believe that they shipped the product hot. Then we were basically like CSI. We had to do an investigation. That's your last resort.